Your test tomorrow, 1114, you're going to have like 5 equations where you have to solve. Then you're going to have some where you have to solve by factoring, some where you're using the discriminant to tell the types and numbers of solutions, some where you have to solve using the quadratic, and then you're going to have some that talk about our complex numbers, which is real and imaginary. So if I look at this first one, when you're solving, guys, remember you're doing order of operations, PEMDAS, backwards. So instead of PEMDAS, you want to think of SADMEP, however you want to think about it. SADMEP. You're getting rid of subtraction, addition first, then division, multiplication, then our exponents in parentheses. So our goal is to get our variable all by itself. All right, here's my variable. I want to get x all by itself. So what is the first thing I'm going to undo? What is being added or subtracted? That -4. How do I get the -4 to move to the other side? Okay, so let's add 4 to both sides. So that cancels out. I'm left with 7 times x plus 9 squared equals what? 49. Good.
Wait, why do you do that first?
You get rid of subtraction and addition first.
Oh.
So now we got rid of our subtraction addition. What do I get rid of? Division and multiplication. Is there anything being multiplied? The 7. So if I multiply by 7, what's the opposite? Okay, let's divide both sides by 7. So we get x plus 9 squared equals, what's 49 divided by 7? 7, good. Now I need to get x by itself, but it's in a parenthesis where x plus 9 is squared. How do you get a squared to go away? Take the square root. If I take the square root of one side, what do I do to the other? Square root, good. So I have x plus 9 equals, what goes in front of that square root? Good. Plus or minus root 7. And then the last step, I have x plus 9. How do I get x by itself? Subtract 9 from both sides. Now, guys, when you do this, here's your answer, how I want you to write it. Put your whole number out in front, and then you have your plus minus root 7. If you write it the other way, it has to be positive root 7 minus 9 and negative root 7 minus 9. That plus minus goes in front of the root 7, not in front of the 9. Yes, ma'am?
How do you know when to put the plus or minus in?
When you actually put the square root on yourself. Yeah, good question. All right, let's scoot over here to number 2.
Wait.
Yep.
Oh, never mind.
Okay. All right, this is the same kind of concept. You want to get x by itself. So what's the first thing we're going to do? Add the 15. Good. Good job, guys. So when I add the 15 here, I get 30 equals 2 times x minus 3 cubed. Doesn't matter that it's cubed. All right, now what do I do? Divide by 2. Great. Divide by 2. So I get 15 equals x minus 3 cubed. What's the opposite of cubing a number? Taking the cubed root. Good. So if I take the cube root to this side, then I have to do it where? To the other side. So I have the cube root of 15 equals x minus 3. Do you put plus or minus in front of a cubed? No. Only our even ones. So now what's the last thing I do? Add the 3 to both sides. Good. So I have x equals, I'm going to write it as 3 plus the cube root of 15. How else could you have written it? Cube root of 15 plus 3. They're both positive, so it doesn't matter. Yes, ma'am?
So with the cube root, I don't understand why you didn't put the plus.
Because it's an odd. You can get, yeah. Yes, anything odd. Good. Now, guys, on your test tomorrow, you could get funny-looking numbers. You could get fractions. That's okay. Don't freak out and think, oh, my gosh, I did something wrong. That's not true. Just make sure that you followed all your steps. Okay, in a question like this, do you need more? Sorry. You don't have to when it's cubed. If it's an odd root, you don't have to. Okay, in a question like this, guys, we need a common denominator. What is the number underneath 6? It's a 1. So what would be a common denominator between y, 4y, and the number 1? 4y. So here's what we're going to do. We are just going to figure out what each thing needs and what it doesn't need, and then we can drop our bottoms. Meaning, if I want my common denominator to be 4y, what does this denominator have, and what does it need? It needs a 4. So if I multiply the bottom by 4, what do I do to the top? Multiply it by 4. So 2 times 4 is 8 equals. What do I have here? Do I need to do anything? No, we already have our 4y, so negative 5. Yeah, okay. Plus, what does this denominator need?
4y.
So if I multiply the bottom by 4y, I do what to the top? The same thing. So what is 6 times 4y? 24y. Now that they all have the same denominator, what can I do with it? Cross it off. I don't need it anymore. I can just cross off the denominator, so it's going to go away. And now what do I do? Solve for what? Solve for
Why
y.
does it cancel out? Like, why do you cross that out?
Because everything on the left-hand side and the right-hand side all has the same denominator. So, I mean, you could leave it, but it would just make your problem a lot longer. As soon as you have everything to have the same denominator, you can just cross it off. Because in the end, it would cross off anyways. So if I go to solve this, what do? Add 5 to both sides. Good. So I have 13 equals 24y. Now what? Divide by 24. Good. Now, when you write your answers, guys, always see if you can simplify. You do not have to turn it into a mixed number or anything like that, but do not leave something unsimplified. Can I simplify anything between 13 and 24? No, so it's going to stay like this. What I mean by that is if you end up with like 100 over 6, I don't need to know what the mixed number is, but I can simplify that. What can I simplify 100 over 6 into? 50 over 3. So just make sure you do some sort of simplification if you can. If you don't, if you leave it unsimplified, I'm going to take some points off. So just check. So if you get an ugly looking fraction, that's okay. Just make sure that it simplifies. You guys good? Yeah.
Where'd you get the 2y from, just to be sure?
The 24?
Because 2 was the only thing you had.
But do you mean the 24?
Yeah. Oh.
So here, do you see it's a 24, not a 2?
Oh, yeah.
Because we had to get a common denominator. So when I had the denominator 1, I wanted it to become a 4y. What do I have to multiply it by? 4y. And what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top.
Oh. Because I read it as 2y instead of 24.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Question over here? We good? All right. All right, this problem looks daunting, but it's not. What do you notice about x minus 9, x plus 9, and x squared minus 81? What is x minus 9 times x plus 9 equal? X squared minus 81. So what's going to be my common denominator between x squared minus 81, x plus 9, x minus 9? X squared minus 81. So all we have to do is figure out what each fraction needs in order to make it x squared minus 81 on the bottom. So if I look at this first one, in order to make this x squared minus 81, what do I have to multiply x minus 9 by? X plus 9. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do where? Good. Very good. So here, is this already x squared minus 81? Yes? Okay, we're good. Over here, what do I need to multiply? X minus 9. What I do to the bottom, I do where? Good. And now that all of the denominators are the same, what could I do with them? Cross them off. You don't need to worry about them anymore. And now this just becomes a linear equation that we solve. I multiply here. What's 15 times x? 15x. Guys, I know you don't have a calculator, but you should be able to multiply 15 times 9. What's 15 times 10? 150. So should your answer be around 150? If you guys multiply 15 times 9 and get like 2,000, you should be like, wait, that doesn't look right. So look, watch this go. 15 times 9. What's 5 times 9? 45. And then 9 times 1 is 9, plus 4 is 13. So this is what? 135. Minus what? 4 equals 3x minus 27. So clean up the left-hand side, clean up the right-hand side, and then do some moving. What can I combine on this left-hand side? Okay, I have 15x. I have plus 135 minus 4. It gives me what?
131.
Plus 131. Good. Equals 3x minus 27. I want x's together. I want numbers together. So I want x's on one side and constants on the other. So which way do you want to move? Okay, want to subtract the 3x? That's fine. Good. So 15x minus 3x is 12x plus 131 equals negative 27. Everybody with me? Now what? Subtract 131. Agreed. Guys, if you're subtracting two numbers, negative 27 and a negative 131, all you're doing is adding them together and keeping the sign. Okay? So what's 7 and 1? 8. What's 2 and 3?
5.
So negative 158. Divide now by what? Perfect. Good job, guys. So x equals negative 158 divided by 12. Now you're going to say, I have to do what? Simplify. Right away, you know what number goes into both negative 158 and 12. 2, because they're both even. So if I divide this by 2, I have 6. Do 158 divided by 2. 2 goes into 15 7 times, yes? It's going to be 79. Very good. And don't forget that negative sign. Am I done? Is it fully simplified?
Yeah. Oh.
How do you know it's not?
Because
How do you know that 3 goes into...
3 goes into 9.
Because they're both at
If I add, guys, if I add 9 and 7, what do I get? 16. Does 3 go into 16? No.
4,000.
Right, but 4 doesn't go into 6. Can I simplify anymore? Okay, you guys don't need a calculator. You can just use... Does everybody know the 3 trick? See if something's divisible by 3 or 9? Add the digits. 1, 5, 8. What's 1 plus 5? Plus 8.
14.
Does 3 go into 14? No. So then it's not divisible by... 158 is not divisible by 3. Just check. That's all I'm saying. All right. Where's the next one? Oh. All right, this is a long problem. Does it look super hard? It's not hard, but is there a lot of places to make mistakes? Yes. Okay, so let's just clean up the left-hand side and the right-hand side, and then we'll worry about moving stuff. I have negative 8, so just, you can't do anything with that. This negative 3 needs to distribute. So what's negative 3 times x? Negative 3x. What's a negative 3 times 15? Minus 15. Good. Over here, 10 times x is 10 times negative 1. Perfect. Plus 21.
How come we didn't distribute for number 1? I mean, yeah, how come we didn't distribute for the other ones? Because they were squared and cubed?
At the top here?
Yeah.
Because you're trying to get x by itself.
Well, how do you know?
So if you're trying to get x by itself, you're not going to make your problem bigger. You're trying to undo everything to get it by itself. Same thing here. We have to undo everything. So you can't you can't divide by negative 3. Because look, if I added 8 to both sides, I get 29. And then if I divide this by negative 3, then I'd have to divide. Your problem's going to get really gross. So just go ahead and simplify as much as you can on either side, and then worry about going. There was nothing up here to simplify before, because you can't distribute 2 here. You would have to multiply x minus 3 times, then distribute. Good question. All right, so hold on. Let me erase. Okay, so now that we have everything distributed, now we can kind of combine like terms and go that way. On this left-hand side, what can I combine? Negative 8 and negative 15, which is what?
Negative 23.
What is it? Negative 23?
Yeah.
Okay, so negative 3x minus 23. Could I have written the negative 23 first? Yeah, that's fine. So now over here I have 10x. What's a negative 10 and a positive 21? Plus 11. All right, now let's get x's on one side, numbers on the other. You want to subtract the 10x? That's fine.
Could we subtract the
Sure. So I have negative 13x minus 23 equals 11. Now what? God bless. Add the 23. Angeli, did you move the 3x to the other side?
No, I was just asking.
I was just saying, because if you did, I just wanted you to see how it was the same. What's 11 and 23? 34. And now what?
Negative 13. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Divide to negative 13.
So x equals 34 over negative 13. You can put the negative anywhere. Can I simplify that at all? No. Guys, it's okay to get a gross fraction. It will probably happen. Don't worry about it. You good? All right, if it tells you to solve by factoring, you know that this problem will definitely do what? It'll definitely what? Factor. So how do we factor? We have to get everything on the same side or different sides? One side. So what am I doing with 66? We're going to subtract it. Move it over. So I have x squared minus 5x minus 66 equals 0. So I'm looking for factors of 66 that multiply to give me a negative 66, but add to give me negative 5. If you don't know off the top of your head, write out the factors of 66. 1 and 66. 2 and what? 33. 3 and 22. 4, 5, 6 and? Okay. What combination, I heard you guys, what combination will give me a 5 somehow? 6 and 11. So what are my signs going to be? Negative 11 and? Why is it negative 11 and positive 6?
Negative 8. Negative 5.
Because you need a negative 5 when you add them, and you need a negative 66 when you multiply. Guys, a lot of you on your quiz stopped right here. You factored it fine, but it says to solve. What's the next step? Equal to 0. So x equals what?
X equals
11 and negative 6. Good. Very good. That one extra step, you have to, if it says to factor and solve, or solve by factoring, factor completely, whatever, you have to solve the question. X equals. Okay, if I look over here, again, it says solve by factoring, so I know I have to do what?
Minus 3x squared.
You could move the negative, or you could move 3x to the other side, but what happens there is then that becomes negative, and then that's yucky to factor. So move everything over so your x squared is positive. So I'm going to say 3x squared plus 14x minus 5 equals 0. Where did I get those signs from? When you go over the equal sign, what happens to the signs? They change. All right, guys, A is not 1. Some of us are still struggling with this. When A is not 1, I multiply A times C. Negative 15. Yes? What are the factors of negative 15 that add to give me 14? 15 and 1. So watch. There's a couple ways you can do this. I'm going to do it both ways so you guys can see. The first thing you can do is to put x's in both. X and x. And then you guys told me what? Plus 15 minus 1?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you can take the a term, which is 3, and put it underneath each factor.
I didn't get that.
Okay, you don't have to do it that way. It's the same as the other way that I showed you, it just looks different. But whatever the a term is. So now I look and I say, okay, what is 15 divided by 3? 5. So this really simplifies to x plus 5. Then I look at the second and I say 1 divided by 3. Is that something pretty? No. So then your 3 just becomes the coefficient. 3x minus 1 equals 0. Okay, another way that I showed you could do it, which will work the exact same way, instead of putting the 3 underneath, you guys told me x plus 15 and x, hold on. Yeah, I just need a little room. And x minus 1, right? Well, what's your a term? 3. So put it in the front. And then look at this parenthesis. Is there a GCF? Is there something I can divide out of both of them? 3. If I divide this by 3, I'm left with x plus 5, right? Can I divide anything out of here? Nope, it's just 3x minus 1. Is that what I got over here? Same thing. Now, one more step, guys. I can't just leave it like that. What do I have to do? I have to equal to 0. Good. So this over here is x equals negative 5, right? If I solve this one, I'm going to add 1 to both sides. 3x equals 1. Divide by 3. So x equals what? 1/3. You're always going to get some sort of a fraction when you have the a term not being 1. If you guys are still struggling with that, you can go on Khan Academy, YouTube, something like that, and you can pull up practice problems, all sort of stuff, and you say factoring when a is not 1. All right, let's talk about the discriminant. First of all, everybody tell me what the formula for the discriminant is. B squared minus 4ac. Don't forget that. Now, there's 3 types of answers that we could have. You'll get a positive number, you'll get 0, or you get a negative number. Nadia, when I get a positive number for my discriminant, what does that tell me about my solutions? 2 real solutions. Good. I need to know how many and the type. When I get a 0 as my answer for the discriminant, what does that tell me? 1 real. When I get a negative number for my discriminant, what does that tell me? No real solution or? Good. Either one I'll take. Some of you on your quiz, you solved it, and a big problem was 9 minus 72. And a lot of people told me that was 63. Now think about this, because you guys always argue with me. Oh my God, I just forgot the negative. If I get positive 63, what does that tell me about my solutions? 2 reals. But if it should be negative, what does that tell me about my solutions? There's no real solution. So that negative is a big deal. You have to pay attention to what you're doing. This is super important, guys, this part. So if you are asked to determine the types and number of solutions, use the discriminant. What is my A term here? -4. What is my B term? What is my C term? -2. So my discriminant is B squared minus 4AC. Put everything in parentheses. 3 squared minus 4 times, what's A? -4 times -2. These negative signs mess you all up. You have to pay attention. Talk yourself through it. 3 squared is 9, correct? All right, what is -4 times -4? Positive 16 times a -2. Negative what? 32. So right now you can tell me what types of solutions you have. I have 2 imaginary. Why are they 2 imaginary solutions? Good. Or 0 real. It's a negative number. Now you have to tell me what that negative number is. What is 9 minus 32? Is it 23 or 21? Okay. -23. Yes, ma'am.
If you put the 0 real, but not the 2 imaginary.
Either one. Yeah. You can tell me if it's if it's a negative, you can tell me either 2 imaginary or 0 real. You don't have to tell me both. We good? All right, we're moving along. Oops, this should be
If it's 0, then that's 1 real.
1 real. Yep. All right, you're going to have one that says solve using the quadratic formula. So what do you have to use?
-b plus or minus
Good.
square root of b squared.
Our quadratic formula is x equals, go, -b plus or minus?
Square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a.
Woo, look at you. Superstar. All right, a lot of you made little mistakes here because you just weren't paying attention. So let's pay attention. What is our A term? 5. What's my B?
2.
Good. What's my C? Good. So I have -2 plus or minus the square root of 2 squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times 5. Take a second and make sure all of your signs are right. Did I input that correctly? We all good? All right, so let's just simplify it a little bit. -2 plus or minus, what is 2 squared? 4. Then, talk yourself through this. What's negative 4 times 5? Times negative 1. Positive 20. Good. Make sure you're paying attention. Guys, right here, what's underneath the square root? 4 plus 20 is what?
10. Oh, 4 plus 20.
4 plus 20 is?
24.
So what kind of solutions are you going to have? 2 real, because it's what kind of a number? Good. So you can kind of check yourself as you go. So negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 24 over 10. Do not stop here. Think. Can I break down 24?
Yeah.
Yes. What perfect and non-perfect square go into? Good. So 4, 6 over 10. So what is the square root of 4? 2. That comes out in front. So what I really have here is negative 2 plus or minus 2 root 6 over 10. Now at this point, we have to make sure we simplify. You can leave it like this and simplify from here. Or you can separate it just so you can see your whole simplification and then put it back together if you want to. But 2 goes into 10, yes?
Yeah.
So this becomes negative 1 and this becomes 5. But you also have to remember that that 10 also simplifies into the other 2, so this becomes 1. If you separate it like this, you might see it a little better that this is 1 over 5 plus root 6 over 5.
So you're dividing everything by positive 2?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, don't divide by negative. Just leave the negative where it is.
Okay.
So this ends up being 1 plus or minus root 6 over 5. You can write it either way. I don't care. But just make sure that you simplify. You don't just simplify one number. And guys, when you have something like 2 over 2, that does not cancel out. It doesn't just go away. 2 divided by 2 is what number? 1. On your quiz, a lot of you just crossed it out like it just doesn't exist anymore, and then that's not correct. So make sure you don't do that, please. Because I forgot right there.
And why don't you divide 6? Like, why don't you?
Because it's underneath the square root. That's not the whole number 6. Like the square root of 6 is some ridiculous decimal, so just leave it, yeah. All right, last bit, and then we're done.
And wait, why don't you put 1 before?
You can.
Oh.
Just if you have just a square root of 6, you just assume that there's 1. Like if you had an x, you just assume there's a 1 there.
Oh.
Okay, last thing we're going to talk about. What are these, guys? These are our imaginaries. These are our complex numbers. I have a real part and imaginary part. First thing I do is look in between the 2 parentheses. What are they asking me to do here? Subtract. So I know that there's a 1 here. And I have to do what with that negative 1? Good. Distribute it. So I have negative 3 plus 6i. Then what's a negative 1 times negative 8? Positive 8. Negative 1 times negative 5. Plus 5. And remember, real goes with real. So negative 3 plus 8 is 5. And then imaginary with imaginary. 6 plus 5 is 11i. What part of this number is real? What part of this number is imaginary? Okay. No. I mean, if you're asked, if they give you a complex number and it says which one's real, which one's imaginary. All right. Scoot, what am I asked to do here? Just add. I don't have to worry about distributing or anything. So I have 15 real with real. What's 15 minus 3? 12. What's negative I minus 16i? What is it? Negative 17i. When we multiply, what do we have to remember? FOIL. Yep, I squared equals what? Negative 1, okay? We got 4 more to do. I promise you'll see one of these and a division. Promise you. So let's go. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 2i, 8i, good. Negative 3i times 6, negative 18i. And then negative 3i, positive 2i. Soon as you see I squared, cross it off and do what? Change the sign. Remember I told you your reals will be on the outside. So what's 24 plus 6? 30. Guys, notice how I circle and I keep the sign with it so I don't mess that up. Whatever sign is in front of the number stays with it. So then here I have 8i minus 18i. Perfect. Good job. Very good. You guys sound pretty good with this. I'm happy. Aren't you guys super pumped? So excited. Isn't this your favorite class of the day? Come on. Oh, yeah. Humor me. Tell me it is.
It's the best one.
I love it, Terrell. Thank you. All right, guys. -1 times 3 is what? -3. -1 times 5, I. -5i. Great. -I times 3. -3i. And then -I times 5i.
Plus 5i squared.
Minus 5i squared. I see what you're doing there. I see. Now, but when you see I squared, what do? Cross it off and then change the sign. Terrell asked yesterday, can I just do that ahead of time? Sure. I wouldn't suggest it just so you don't make any little mistakes, but if you want to. Reals are on the outside. What's a -3 and a +5? 2. What's -5i minus 3i? -8i. Great. Good job, guys. I believe that sometimes. I do. All right, division. Division is just what kind of a problem? It's what? It is a division problem, but it's really just two what? Multiplications. Good. One thing I have to remember. I cannot have an I where? In the denominator. You cannot have it. So I have to multiply by the conjugate or opposite is what you guys like to say. Of the denominator. What is the conjugate of the denominator? Good. You change that sign in the middle. Very good, guys. Now, you can check yourself as you go through this because if you get to the end and your denominator still has i's in it, you need to go back and say, uh-oh, did I multiply by the conjugate? Did I change the sign in the middle? So let's do the numerator first. Just two multiplication problems. What's 3 times 5? 15. What's 3 times 2i? 6i. What's 7i times 5? Good. And then 7i times 2i? 14i squared. Uh-oh. Cross off that I squared. Good. And subtract. So now just clean it up a little bit. What's 15 minus 14? 1. What's 6i plus 35i? 41 what? Perfect. Just a multiplication problem. I forgot the 1. Yeah, I know I forgot. I realized it. Thank you. My apologies. Thank you. 5 times 5, 25. 5 times 2i plus 10i. Negative 2i times 5, negative 10i. Negative 2i positive 2i. Negative 4i squared. As soon as I see that squared, I do what? Cross it off and change the sign. My reals are on the outside. What is 25 plus 4? 29. What happens with a positive 10i and a negative 10i? That's exactly what we wanted, right? Good. Good, 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 good. Can I simplify? Anything going to go into 1, 29, and 41? No. Sorry. I didn't mean to go. Sorry. All right, last one. Division. What do I multiply top and bottom by? The conjugate of the denominator, which is what? 10 minus 2i. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. He really is. He just doesn't want anyone to know it. Let's do our multiplication. What is negative 3 times 10? Negative 30. What is negative 3 times negative 2i? Good. What's 4i times 10? Plus 40i. And then what's 4i times negative 2i? Negative 8i squared. I squared equals negative 1. Cross off I squared and do what to 8? Change the sign. Good. So my reals are on the outside. Negative 30 plus 8. Negative 22. And then what's 6i and 4i? 40i. Plus 46i. Perfect, guys. So now the bottom. 10 times 10? 100. 10 times negative 2i? What kind? Negative 20i. positive 2i times 10 plus 20i, and then negative 2i, positive 2i. Negative 4i squared. I see I squared, do what? Good. So I have my reals on the outside. What's 100 plus 4? 104. What happens here? Cancels out. Now I look and I say, good. I'm going to separate it just because I like to do that. It makes things easier for me, for my brain. You do not have to. But when I do this, I see I have two different division problems. So at the beginning, if I divide 22 and 104 by 2, what do I get?
11.
Negative 11 over 52. Okay. Plus, if I divide 46 and 104 by 2, I get 23 over 52. Can I simplify either of those anymore? No. So you can leave it like that, or if you want to rewrite it as negative 11 plus 23i over 52, it's the same exact thing. These are same. I personally, again, I know I keep saying the same thing. I'm doing that on purpose. So tomorrow when you're taking your test, you can sit there and be like, what would her annoying voice say? And then there you have it.
Yeah, bro.
Matthew, are you going to be here?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, I will upload this video.